Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I'm Paul Brooker, and I am joined by my wonderful health co host, the wonderful Anna Rogers. And we have a new guest on today, Dr. Bill Andrews. But I'm going to hand over to Anna to let her introduce him for you.
So we have a real treat for everyone today. Dr. Andrews literally is one of the world's, if not the world's leading authoritative scientists on the subject of telomeres. And Bill will be explaining what that all means. But basically, this is probably the main cause of aging. And when we talk about aging, we're not just talking about grey hair and sort of looking older. Aging, in my opinion, really means about the organs starting to, dare I say it, fail. And Dr. Andrews believes that aging should be classified as a disease. So Bill, could we ask you how to explain this subject to our
Well,
viewers?
absolutely, and thank you for having me on your show. I let me say I'm typically pretty modest, but I don't think anybody knows more about the subject of science and biology. There's some background noise I hear. Do you hear that?
I don't hear it on my end. Do you want to try again?
I heard an echo. Okay, so it's actually it didn't sound like me. It sounded like somebody else talking. Okay, so I I, I want to say that I'm usually pretty modest, but I want to say that I don't think anybody in the world knows as much about the science and biology of aging as I do. I've been on a quest for knowledge my entire life, trying to learn everything, and I've learned that nobody really knows, and so I've kind of had to put it together all my by myself. And I've been just all my life been studying all the courses and everything I need to know to understand what aging is, why we age, how we age, because we're never going to know how not to age unless we figure out those things first. And so that's been my entire life's mission, just working on that. And telomeres, I consider myself a expert on aging and how not to age. Telomeres just happen to be what my all my efforts and studies have led to the conclusion that we will never solve the aging process unless we also solve how to prevent the shortening of our telomeres, because that is the one hard, fast clock that limits our lifespan and our health span absolutely, that we have no control over unless I or somebody else does something about it. But yeah, so Anna, maybe I forgot the question already, but what was the question you just asked me to do?
It's basically just to start from the beginning about what telomeres are, I think would be a great place.
Telomeres are at the very tips of our chromosomes. And well, let me go back to 1961. Okay. At that time, Dr. Leonard Hayflick showed that human cells can only divide a certain number of times, a limited number of times. And that suddenly dawned on me that from all my previous studies and stuff like that, that had to be the main cause of aging in humans. And so the question was, is what could make it inside of a cell that tells us how many times our cells have divided, how many more times it can divide. And the only kind of biological or biochemical mechanism that we could even imagine. When I say we, I'm talking about anti-aging clubs that I had started in high school and college and things like that. The only thing we could ever think of was something there had to be something like ride tickets at an amusement park inside of our cells, so that every time a cell divided, it lost a ticket, because cells don't have brains. They can't think about it, but they lost a ticket. And when they lose their last ticket, they can't divide anymore. So I spent the next years just hunting down what could these ride tickets at an amusement park be. And in early 1990s, I was at an anti-aging conference and I heard somebody talk about the fact that the tips of our chromosomes get shorter by a very fixed unit every single time our cells divide. And I thought, my God, here's the ride tickets. And so I I, uh, I talked with the guy that was giving the talk, and I said to him, has anybody figured out how to like add ride tickets back or to slow down the rate of losing ride tickets? And he says, no, we've been working with labs all over the world. We've had scientists in our own company trying to work on this. We have never, ever been able to figure that out. I just said, let me come and work for you and I'll have it figured out in 3 months. And pretty bold kind of thing to say, but he knew who I was. I'd already developed quite a reputation in the field of aging and stuff, but I'd also been responsible for a lot of the big biotech breakthroughs in biotech, including I'm co-inventor or inventor of human growth hormone, tissue plasminogen activator, beta seron, a lot of different things people can look up and Google, and you'll find that there were big blockbusters in biotech. And I don't think anybody's had more success than I have in the field of in biotech of making these things. So it hasn't been just aging. There's all cancer drugs I've invented, heart disease drugs, inflammation drugs, Alzheimer's drugs, drugs to make dwarfs grow tall, stuff to prevent multiple sclerosis. But he offered me the job on the spot. And 3 months and 17 days later, I discovered an enzyme called telomerase that actually will re-lengthen our telomeres. And I blamed him, the guy who was the speaker, I blamed him for the extra 17 days because they provided me with a lot of distractions when I was trying to get the job done. But the thing is that we put this telomerase enzyme into normal skin cells grown in a petri dish and showed that their aging got reversed by every method of measurement imaginable. We grew human skin on the back of a mouse. We showed that human skin got younger by every method of measurement imaginable. Then we sent our technology. I don't work with animals, but we sent our technology to a lab at Harvard by Dr. Rhonda Pinnell, and he constructed some mice. Mice don't age the way humans do. So he had to engineer mice that do age like humans. Then he treated them with telomerase, and they had what he referred to as a remarkable reversal of the aging process when he did an interview with Diane Sawyer. And so people can Google that, Dr. Rhonda Pinnell and Diane Sawyer, and they can see that interview where he shows the mice becoming younger in every way imaginable. And it's been the cornerstone of everything I've been doing ever since. The problem with all the studies is that it used a process called gene therapy to produce the telomerase inside the cells. And gene therapy is not readily safe yet. There are clinical studies being done with it, but it's not the kind of thing that we can give to humans because there will be too many side effects, too many people will have bad reactions, etc. So what I have been doing is so the way we discovered telomerase was to realize that something's not right here, because if telomeres got shorter, if we lost ride tickets every time a cell divided, how is it our children are born with just as many ride tickets as we had when we were born? What's happening there? So in our reproductive cells, our cells called our primordial germline, the ones that are producing our eggs and our sperm, those had to have some way of preventing the telomere shortening. So that's what we did, is we looked at those cells and we found they produce this enzyme telomerase, whereas no other cell in the human body does. Since our reproductive cells do have the gene for telomerase, that means all the cells of our body have it. It's just shut off. All genes, every gene in your body, the ones that give your hair color, eye color, they all are controlled by dimmer switches. They each have their individual dimmer switch that turns genes on and off, et cetera. And those are things that change while we age. That's why our skin changes, things like that. But the telomerase gene, its dimmer switch had been completely shut off in every cell of our body. And people can go to my website and things like that and find videos on why we age. I can explain why we've aged. More importantly, why did we never evolve a way not to age? Okay, it's beneficial to the species, even though it's bad for the individual. So that's why. But you can get more detail. We only have like 30 minutes. I can't go into that one right now. But so what we've been trying to do, our whole work effort has been to try to find ways to cause that dimmer switch to turn back on. So we've been testing plant extracts, mostly fractions of plant extracts and individual molecules from plant extracts. A typical plant extract contains at least 200,000 different types of molecules. So separating those out sometimes is important because some can be inhibitory, some can be active. But we've been testing these fractions, and we have found a lot of them that do turn that dimmer switch on. But we haven't found anything that turns it all the way on yet. But that's okay, because anything that even turns it partially on is going to slow down that aging. It's going to make it so that we can live and be healthy longer than the theoretical maximum that we can calculate mathematically from the rate of telomere shortening. We can live longer than the theoretical maximum lifespan and health span of 125 years by even slowing down that rate of telomere shortening. So now my company is totally focused on reversing aging. We, not just by telomeres, but by everything. We are focused on reversing aging. So when we discover these things that slow down the aging, we just put them on the shelf because we don't want to spend time focusing on marketing. We want to focus on more research to find more potent stuff. But I got a call one day from Touchstone Essentials, a guy named Eddie Stone, and he said that he would like to have his company start marketing these products to slow it down. I said, yeah, well, that's a really good thing to do. I think people really benefit from it. But in the past, when I've talked to other companies, they didn't think the profit margin would be high enough. And so they decided not to do it. And Eddie Stone, who's the president, founder of Touchstone Essentials, he said, I don't care about profit margins. I just want to make people happier and healthier. He became my best friend instantly, okay, because that's all I'm interested in. I've never been in it for the money. I just think aging is the worst thing that ever happened to us, and living is the greatest thing that ever happened to us. And so I hate the idea that aging can become any less lovable because of this dumb thing called aging, which if you listen to my YouTube videos on why we age, you'll see it's not necessary at all. We can cure aging. We just have to spend some money. And I'm spending $2 million a month right now doing this kind of screening. So it's not, this is why nobody else has been able to cure aging, because it's all, the big obstacle is funding. But and I know I'm not giving you guys much chance to talk. I'm just going on and on, but I'm excited about the fact that we licensed our top 5 ingredients, the stuff that induces the most telomerase of anything on the planet, to Touchstone Essentials. And they created this product called TeloVital. And this product is, in my opinion, the best thing that anybody could do to slow down their aging process. And if that's not enough, some icing on the cake is that we have discovered that when telomeres get really critically short, they become easier to lengthen. So this might even be lengthening. Even though I said it decreases the rate of shortening of telomeres, it might actually be lengthening the critically short telomeres, which would explain why there's a tremendous number of anecdotal results that are appearing from people taking this product, and I see Anna shaking her head right now. She can probably talk about a lot of that stuff too. But since I'm a scientist, I don't really get into anecdotal data, but I'd have to be blind not to see that some of these things are pretty hard to explain by just placebo effects. But this is, I think I'm so excited. I'm proud of the fact that I'm an inventor of this product, because there's nothing anybody else can do that's better than this.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, this is such a fascinating subject, and you're right. I have heard phenomenal things. One of the things I heard just 2 weeks ago was a story of someone's mum who's in her 90s, and she was having a hard time sort of aging and didn't feel very good, wasn't moving around easily. And the testimonial from, I think it was her daughter, was just glowing in that she is moving with ease now. She feels like she's got so much more energy. she's happy. Because when you think about it, when we see people aging, I do agree with you. I do think it is a disease because, in my opinion, people really should die peacefully in their sleep, not with cancers and Alzheimer's and all these terrible things that have become so common. So to see that feedback in someone of her age was very inspiring. And I've heard many other stories as well with people, even within a week or two, just feeling like they've got loads more energy. Myself, when I first started taking it, I started going for daily walks, which I've never done in my entire life. It's fascinating to see what happens for people when they take it, because maybe, Bill, you can tell me if I'm right, but would it start working in areas of people's bodies where the telomeres are critically short? So if someone had a problem, I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud, in their brain, that perhaps the supplement would start working there first, where they would feel an improvement in their brain function.
That's exactly right. It's not just about aging. Now, aging is the decline and failure of multiple tissues and organs, but sometimes one tissue starts failing. A good example is muscular dystrophy. Muscular dystrophy, your muscles start failing at a much younger age than the rest of your body does. And it's because of this mutation called the dystrophin mutation. And what that does is it causes the muscle cells to die sooner. Okay, so, and that's okay when you're young because you have other like reserve cells that can divide to replace the killed cells. But now these reserve cells are having to divide more often than normal to replace the killed cells. And therefore the telomeres are getting shorter in those cells because of the division. Hopefully I'm not getting too complicated here, but and people can rewatch this 100 times if necessary. But the cell division is causing, the accelerated cell division is causing accelerated telomere shortening. And therefore your muscles completely fail when you're like 40 or 50 years old because there's no cells left to divide to replace the damaged cells. So something like, I don't want to make medical claims, but anything that would induce telomerase to reverse the short, to decrease the rate of shortening or even lengthen would actually make it so that people, even with muscular dystrophy, could live longer and healthier longer.
Wow.
Just because of the fact that they have more opportunities for their cells to replace the killed cells. That's why people with muscular dystrophy don't even know it when they're young, because their body just replaces it. But the key is, and you'll hear this in the why we age, the reason we only need to live long enough to raise our young. Afterwards, there is actually no evolutionary advantage to the species to live longer than that. So we've never evolved a way not to get muscular dystrophy or other kind of diseases similar to that, because the disease doesn't hit you until after you've already raised your young, and you don't contribute at all to the survival of our species afterwards, because you've already shuffled your genes, you've added your diversity to the species, which increases the chances that some members of the species will survive rapidly changing environments. I know I'm getting too complicated, but it's yeah. But let me just go with one more. A really good example is people who drink a lot of alcohol. It's well known that alcohol kills liver cells. That's okay when you're young, okay, because you have the other cells that can divide to replace those liver cells. But now those reserve liver cells are dividing faster and the telomeres are getting shorter faster. And so when you turn 40 or 50 years old, you suddenly can't replace those killed liver cells anymore. And so they all collect, and you get a lot of dead cells on your liver. And this is what liver cirrhosis is. And that wouldn't happen if you didn't have accelerated telomere shortening. And so if you had a way of decreasing the rate of your telomere shortening or even lengthening your telomeres, that could allow you to drink alcohol longer. But that's not what I'm doing all this research
We're not
for.
endorsing that in
Yeah,
any
we're
way,
not.
shape, or
No.
form.
I don't drink at all. I don't encourage it. I think you become less valuable to society and your own personal family and life when you drink a lot. So I discourage that tremendously.
It's funny that you mention that, because I do hear amongst people my age now where they say, "Oh, I had a few drinks last night. I feel so sick." It's like their body is already showing them, actually, your liver is not as good as what it was, and the alcohol is affecting you. And maybe you should stop. I don't drink anymore, and Paul, you don't anymore either, do you?
No.
No.
That's
And
interesting you brought that up, Anna, because there's that saying, isn't there? When you're young, you could roll in at 4 a.m. and still wake up at 6 a.m. for work. Now,
yeah.
I go back to last year. There was one time I rolled in at 4 a.m. and I can tell you now, I was wiped the whole weekend.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, you're absolutely right, Dr. Andrews. Your body is just running out of cells to be able to fight the heavy drinking almost and a whole host of other things.
You know,
And
25 years ago, I hired a superstar to be the CEO of my company so that I could focus on the science. He still reported to me, but he was the CEO and I was the chief scientific officer. But with the day he showed up, I realized he was an alcoholic. And so
oh,
I quit drinking that minute 25 years ago, not because I was addicted or anything like that. That alcoholism is genetic. It's inherited. So I feel sorry for the people that have inherited the genes. I didn't inherit it, but I quit drinking from that moment on. And then just a few months later, he was drunk in his apartment, fell down the stairs, broke his neck, and died. And I've
oh,
never had a drink since. You know, it's like I just
wow.
don't want to be. I don't want to go through the life that he was going through, and it was very depressing and very sad.
Mm,
So
that is so
just to,
sad.
I'm sorry, Anna.
Oh no, you go, Paul.
Can I just ask, is this part and parcel of this term we're hearing a lot of at the moment called biohacking, where people are trying to rewrite themselves almost and get more out of themselves? Is that sort of along those lines?
Uh, yeah. Well, biohacking means that you are really experimenting with yourself,
Right.
trying supplements and stuff like that that haven't really been tested, and you are now considering yourself part of the testing. I'm not a biohacker. Okay. Excuse my thumb. I cut my thumb a few
Oh,
days ago and I'm got this white tape on it to hold the Band-Aid on. But I, I'm not a biohacker. I've been through the pharmaceutical and the nutraceutical and therapies business for almost 50 years. I'm 45 years at least. And I've seen so many side effects from all kinds of different things. I won't take anything unless it's been tested by uh, uh, thousands and thousands of people after getting FDA approval if it's a pharmaceutical, or taking nutraceuticals that people have already been taking for 10,000 years and are
mhm.
therefore given the generally regarded as safe category by the FDA. And that's what all the things in Televital are. So I definitely take Televital. And I've never seen a company that focuses more on safety than Touchstone Essentials. All
Mhm.
their products are vegan and organic. And I mean, every product has to have certain like toxin levels below a certain threshold that the FDA defines. Touchstone goes even below that. Okay, there's a Proposition 65 in California that talks about lead levels being lower than even the FDA requires.
Mm.
Touchstone insists on going below that even. So it is really, really great. So I don't worry about any of the Touchstone products. Plus, all their products are fantastic. They have a family of products that it just doesn't exist anywhere else. You can't go to any company and choose the same products. They have just let me just ramble on this one for a minute because I'm so excited. Gluco control. It converts sugar to fiber. You take it when you eat, it converts the sugar into fiber. Sugar is bad for you. Fiber is
Yep.
great. Okay, so do that. And then there's zeolites. Zeolites are in several of their products that are great for swamping up toxins. So even if you want to take somebody else's product that has toxins in it, you can take Touchstone zeolite, get rid of the toxins. And then fulvic acid. I mean, Shilajit
Yeah.
is a supplement that a lot of people have known about for a long time, but it has side effects. Now, the active ingredient in Shilajit is fulvic acid, but
Mhm.
it doesn't have any side effects and it works great. Nobody else was going to sell fulvic acid because they don't want to spend the extra money to create do the purification step to get rid of it. But Touchstone Essentials does. So I'm very excited about all the products and I take them all.
I heard that those products were sort of why you wanted to work with Eddie, because I would assume that having a heavy toxic load and too much inflammation in the body from sugar would harm the telomeres, and therefore you need to be sort of pure and lower your inflammation for the televital to work efficiently.
Yeah, I will confess, I did not know about Touchstone Essentials before Eddie Stone contacted me. And one of the first things I did was do my due diligence. And what I'm really good at, and what I do a lot of, is what I call critical meta-analysis of peer-reviewed studies. Okay, and so I look at the data, I analyze the data, I look at experimental designs, all this kind of stuff to really weed out if studies are legitimate or not. And so I did this on all their products, and I wrote reports on it and actually sent it to Eddie. And I'm just blown away. And that's why I wanted to become part of Touchstone. It's because I was just impressed with the quality and safety of all their products.
That's
Wow.
amazing to hear that from you because of your background. And in your career, which has been, is it at least 40 years, is that right, in this space?
I consider it even longer than that because I've been obsessed with trying to find cures for aging and cancer and heart disease since I was 10 years old. It was like my teachers at school used to send me home with notes pinned to my shirt so my parents could read how obsessed I am with trying to want to cure diseases. I've been studying and trying to figure out all the twos and twos of everything my entire life because everybody else has it all wrong. It's like you wouldn't believe all the stuff that I have gone through to try to educate myself and teach myself how to teach myself about what is really going on with all these diseases. And I think I've got it really well nailed, better than just about anybody in the world.
That's brilliant. You've just brought this up because the one thing that everyone is scared about is big pharma getting hold of this and all of a sudden turning it into a drug that you need to get hooked on, because that's the one thing that scares everybody out there. And I'm a big believer in Mother Nature has all the answers. She's always had all the answers, and it's just finding a way to extract that. And well, quite frankly, when you said that it's not a pharmaceutical effectively, I was like, do you know what? That's brilliant. That at least bestows a bit of confidence in me because, as we all know, pharmaceuticals have massive side effects that they don't like to tell you about or anything like that. So, do you know what? That is brilliant. And can I just ask, how long, dare I say it, and I know you're probably going to say exactly what I think you're going to say, before you start to see maybe not physical results, but maybe feel a difference inside yourself?
Well, some people are seeing it within a matter of weeks. Okay. Some people come back and say, wow, I have more energy 5 minutes after they take it. Well,
Yeah.
That's a placebo effect. Okay. I can't imagine, because one thing I do like about Touchstone is that they don't add anything to their products that provide instant gratification. And that's what a lot of the other companies do. They'll put something else in there, like caffeine. Okay. Because you take the product and the caffeine suddenly makes you feel energetic and things like that, and more alert, more cognitive skills have increased. But it's not because of the active ingredients in the product, it's because of the other products. And so Touchstone doesn't have that. But it does take a while, probably a few weeks before you start going to see some of the stuff, because you have to provide the lengthening of the telomeres, especially the critically short ones, before you can start seeing anything. And then there's a part of this product that people just have to go on faith on. And that's that there's no way to measure the slowing of aging. That's impossible to measure the slowing of aging. But this product is designed to slow down the aging of slow down the rate of aging. And you just have to understand the science and the biology of it to really realize that that's happening. But some people are seeing this age reversal stuff. And as I said before, this is probably because they have critically short telomeres in some or all parts of their body. And those critically short telomeres are probably getting lengthened. And one thing that I have noticed is that the people who are showing the most major effects are the people that are over 90 years old that are taking this product. And I've sat on YouTube calls, Zoom calls and stuff like that, and listened to some of these 90-plus-year-old people talking. And I say, my God, there's no way they could be 90. And then they'll show me pictures of them before, and there's a tremendous difference. But again, it's anecdotal. No studies done yet. Another possible explanation is that, remember I said that a plant extract is made up of about 200,000 different molecules. Well, we create fractions because we don't want all 200,000 in there because some might inhibit the activity or accelerate aging. So we fractionated the molecules based on size or charge or solubility. And so it's one fraction that we actually pick from a plant. And maybe that's got 10,000 different molecules. But it could still be that some of those 9,999 molecules might also be providing some benefits to people. And maybe that's why they're seeing some of the potential age reversal type of things. But some of these things I've seen are pretty dramatic. So,
I mean, that's what excited all of us at Touchstone when we saw photographs that were of a product that you'd made for another company. That's, I think I remember asking you, and you said it was 3 times less as sort of strong as what Televital is. But those pictures blew my mind. The one that I will never forget seeing is of a little old lady who was lying on a massage table, and you could see she had a very big developed hump on her back, which I guess is a bone deformation. Is that a word? Yeah. And after 5 months of being on the other product, which again, less as strong as this one, her hump, I don't want to say it completely went, but 80%. It was like, oh my goodness. And then there was a photo of her sitting in a chair before she took the supplement. And then the other one was again 5 months after taking the other formula. Sitting up, she was happy, she looked vibrant. It was jaw-dropping. And I've seen some other things like that. I think because Televital is quite new, when we come back in a year's time, we're going to see a lot of photographs being shared by people that will just be jaw-dropping. Is it okay if we ask you, because I guess we have to wrap up soon, but maybe we could have you on again in the future. But I think it's important for people to know that in the industry, the supplement industry is worth billions, and there's so many so-called anti-aging products out there who make really wild claims about lengthened telomeres, but we know because of your research that it's not true. And I think people need to know, how do you know that?
Well, I am the inventor or co-inventor of practically every method there is for measuring telomere lengths and also for measuring telomerase activity and expression. And but I am aware that a lot of companies do claim that their products lengthen telomeres. But what they don't understand is that they're measuring telomeres in your blood, and the population of cells in your blood are changing all the time. So if their product, for instance, is toxic at all, it will actually preferentially kill off cells that have short telomeres in your blood. And if your product is immunogenic at all, it'll preferentially add cells that have long telomeres to your blood that come from your bone marrow. And so both those cases, you remove the cells with short telomeres or you add new cells with long telomeres, it makes the average length of the telomeres in the blood afterwards longer, even though there was no lengthening at all. Okay. Right. And the analogy I like when I explain that is that if you have a company and you fire your dumbest employees or you hire a bunch of geniuses, the average IQ of your company increases without anybody getting any smarter. Okay, so the same thing's happening in our blood. So a lot of companies, their products are not reversing aging. They are actually toxic or immunogenic,
Wow.
and they are causing the telomeres in your blood to be lengthened, but at the expense of telomeres elsewhere in your body getting shorter. So the net result is you've accelerated your aging, even though the blood ends up looking younger. It's not really younger, and that's a big problem. So I don't make a habit of talking about other products on publicly like so. But I can just tell the audience, all you got to do, if somebody says that they have a product that reverses aging and they've shown it by either lengthening of telomeres or changing DNA methylation patterns or changing IgG glycosylation or whatever, just ask them, does your product produce telomerase? Because if it doesn't, your telomeres don't get longer. And it turns out telomeres actually play a role in DNA, in causing DNA methylation and changes, and IgG glycosylation changes too. So it all comes down to, does your product produce telomerase? And if they say no, run away, because their product does not really reverse aging. It's something else going on. And if they say that they haven't tested it, ask why not? I mean, it's easy to test. I mean, this is a logical thing to do. If you created a product that you're claiming reverses aging or lengthens telomeres or whatever, you obviously should measure telomerase activity. But when somebody says they didn't, it tells me they did, and it didn't give them, it gave them a negative answer, and they couldn't understand it. But since they saw telomeres get longer, they're going to make the claim anyway. Okay. And because they don't understand telomere biology as well as I do. And I have tested all these products myself. And I'm not going to, I don't want to say all of them have been negative, because then that means I'm telling that every product you ever heard of is negative. But I can tell you the ones that are negative, I let them know. And the ones that are positive, I let them know too. Okay. And so I just say, go ask them if they have the Bill Andrews or Sierra Sciences seal of approval. Okay. Because I'm not in it for the money. I just want people to be happier and healthier, just like Eddie Stone does. And that's all that matters. So.
Wow.
And by the way, we are continuing our research. The only obstacle is getting the amount of funding that we need to spend the $2 million a month to do this research. We are continuing this research, and I don't know when we'll have it, but when we do have something that's potent enough to actually provide more telomerase activity than is found in our reproductive cells, and therefore reverse aging in all ways imaginable, Touchstone Essentials will be the company that markets it, because I'm not going anywhere else. I'm so impressed with Touchstone.
Exciting.
Well, Dr. Andrews, I just want to say a massive thank you for taking the time out of your day, because we know you are a very busy man after hearing about all your research. And all I can ask is, where can everybody find you?
Well, I'm just a research company, so I don't have the most sophisticated website. I am actually having some people work on it right now. So, but my website is www.sierrasci, that's SIERRASCI.com. And people can also email me. Oh, and by the way, if you go to sierrasci.com/videos, you can watch all my key videos on why we age, what aging is, why we age, how we age, and how not to age, and videos on how to know what's real and not real when you're talking to other products, and all kinds of stuff, and why cancer is not cured yet, things like that. But that it's not available right this minute, but I'm hoping that it'll be available by Monday. And but my email address, and people are very welcome to email me with questions, because when I'm working in the lab and I need a break, I love to go sit down on my computer and respond to questions. My email address is B as in boy, Andrews at sierrasci.com. Look forward to hearing from people.
Fantastic. And we're
Thank you so
also going to
much.
put a link down below straight to this. I've forgotten the name of it. Televital. That's it.
Yes.
So you yourselves can pick it up and try it for yourselves, because I'm not going to lie to you. I'm currently trying it myself. I'm not going to lie. Here it is.
And
And
I've
it's
been on it
USDA
for 4
approved.
months.
Yeah.
It's USDA approved. I just saw the USDA logo on the bottom of your bottle, and not every product has that claim.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you so much for your time, and hopefully we can do this again in the future.
I look forward to it. All right. Thank you.
Take care, everyone. God bless. See you all soon. Bye now.